Bitcoin sails into uncharted waters, and now we are into something called price discovery. Today we'll break it down for you. It's going to cover both Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a lot of other things here on today's show. You guys don't want to miss it. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. Before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor, and that is I Trust Capital. If you're looking at a crypto IRA and you want to manage it by yourself, do your own trades, all that kind of stuff, you can do that within I Trust Capital. All you have to do is jump over to their website, itrustcapital.com. You can trade everything from meme coins, you name the currency, it's in there most likely. And you can also do gold and silver, all available for self-trading. And of course, you get $100 funding reward if you do use our link. So try that out if you guys want to get into a crypto IRA. I want to jump over and get our poll. We're going to do both at the beginning and then we'll kind of revisit it a little bit later. But I want to get people kind of voting on this. Let's jump over to the poll real quick. So the question today is, will the Ethereum ETF be approved in May? I think the question here, when you look at Ethereum, we'll talk about this later in the episode, what will this do to the ETH token? And also, could there be maybe a little bit of a plot twist at the end? We'll see. I do want to hit on, of course, the big news, and that, of course, is Bitcoin breaches 71K for the first time. Broken all, and I think we're closing in on almost 72. I'll look at the charts here in a second. Couple of points. World's first cryptocurrency rallied over 10% during the past week, 47% during the past month. Bitcoin continues to climb, and of course, a lot of this is still coming in from the activity on the ETFs. Pretty much everyone, including Michael Saylor, is looking at this on the upside for sure. So there's a lot happening out there with Bitcoin. I'd love to get you guys' feedback on, do you feel like this is just beginning, or is this maybe going to start to see a little bit of slowness moving in? Surpassing the Swiss franc right now to become the 13th largest crypto or currency in the world. And then, of course, other tweets out there. This is the one I like right here from Eric. First 2 months officially in the books. Look at that chart right there in terms of flows. That's pretty insane in terms of just where IBIT is. Of course, Fidelity, which is the one we kind of like, definitely moving, even though GBTC is still holding a pretty good position. Further into things, right now we've got Bitcoin starting to clip right above silver. I mean, this is getting serious, and I think that's the question mark right now. A lot of people looked at this year being one of the bigger years. Now it is pretty much undeniable that this is going to go mainstream, and it's not going away. ETFs are in full form, and I think now is the time, even though we have not seen retail yet, now is the time I think that pretty much anyone and everyone will be talking about this asset. Now, what does that mean for the rest of cryptocurrency? What it means is that it's going to expose Ethereum and a handful of high cap altcoins that are probably going to benefit from the exposure that, of course, Bitcoin is bringing to the markets. Make sure, by the way, drop some comments over on the side. We'll try to get to some of those if we can before we get off this live today. MicroStrategy, of course, has now acquired an additional 12,000 Bitcoin, 821 poultry million, using proceeds from a convertible note and excess cash. I mean, this is basically a Bitcoin farm now in terms of master. So they're holding around 205,000 Bitcoin. I believe that puts them above IBIT as well. So big move. I think Saylor, of course, he's not made bad calls, and when you can't really make bad calls when you just hold, and which is basically what he's been doing. So man, this is crazy numbers. I want to go to a clip really quick. This is getting into the value of Bitcoin versus gold. Listen in.
Well, I think I'd start just with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is certainly at least digital gold. It's going to eat gold. It's got all of the great attributes of gold, and it's got none of the defects of gold. If you could teleport gold from New York to Tokyo in a few minutes, people would like it. It's going to divert capital from risk assets and risk ETFs like SPY, and you can see that these ETFs are doing that. It's going to be incorporated into a lot of funds like the BlackRock Global Opportunities Fund or the Strategic Income Opportunities Fund. And so as it's an asset class, as it goes into other funds, it's going to become structural.
Yeah, and I think that's the point right there. It is going to become structural. What he means by that is all asset managers, I shouldn't say all, but a lot of asset managers are going to start to build their base, a pillar, much like what they already do around other asset classes. I also think that we're going to start to see the real formation of that 12th sector in the S&P. And that is the thing that I think really starts to get unique in the sense that there may be other companies start to come in and play this game. Obviously, Master has been, MicroStrategies, has been pretty much the artisan of how all of this is done. Look at their performance between them and ETFs. Take a look.
What's going on here? MicroStrategy's got leverage. If we borrowed $800 million at 62 basis points, is there any company in the world that you wouldn't like to invest in that could borrow $1 billion at less than 1% interest to invest in your best idea? That leverage gives us volatility. It gives us performance. The performance gives us volatility. The volatility attracts capital, and we can then leverage more. It's given our shareholders more Bitcoin per share this week than they had a few weeks ago. So it's very accretive for them. And it's pretty compelling for every investor. If you're Bitcoin curious right now and you want to buy Bitcoin at the all-time high, how do you get the upside in Bitcoin with downside protection? MicroStrategy sold $800 million in debt, and we have $13 billion of Bitcoin on the balance sheet. So we're giving you an over-collateralized loan and the upside. But if you're a Bitcoin maximalist and you love Bitcoin and you want to hold it forever, the ETFs charge you 25 basis points. MicroStrategy is accreting. We're giving you a yield against your shares in a tax-efficient fashion. So the maximalists like the equity. The hedgers, they kind of like the upside with downside protection. The traders love the vol.
So one thing to be aware of when he was mentioning yield, yeah, there's some other assets out there like Ethereum that do provide yield. But one thing is going to be for sure, and that is that you're going to see business classes doing entire courses on the structure and how MicroStrategy did this during this last 2 years. It's going to be something that's studied because the model is very intriguing, and it also, he is exactly right. The ability to leverage at such a low cost of assets and funds, it's something that not many companies can do when you look at just being able to acquire a lot of liquid for under 1% and be able to deploy that, like he said, into your best idea. Always thinking, which I really like. And of course, if you look at their current stat right now, Master is back on top with 205,000 Bitcoin. And if you kind of zoom in on some of these, let me see if I can get a little closer on this to give you guys a little bit of a look. There's IBIT, which of course is BlackRock. Then Fidelity coming in at 124. ARK coming in at 37. Nice position though for Kathy, in a position of number 3. Which, hey, in this game, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. That's like an AFC championship or something. Anyway, let's go over to some other things that are happening right here. Of course, is Bitcoin and Ethereum ETNs now get the nod from the London Stock Exchange. A couple of points here. Decision facilitates on-exchange trading of securities that track performance of crypto assets during the London trading hours, providing investors with regulated instrument to gain exposure to both Bitcoin and ETH. Big deal for, I think, what's going to showcase as maybe one of the bigger categories for digital assets, mainly coming from the EU, Great Britain being one of them. The underlying crypto asset must be wholly or principally held in cold storage, which includes cold staking, subject to arrangements, achieve equivalent outcome to cold storage. So that's good. I think these are all good signals. And again, back to my point is that this is just a step or two away from becoming mainstream. We are still not seeing mainstream just yet. And even though we are seeing all-time highs with Bitcoin, it is not mainstream just yet. During the last 2 months, U.S. spot Bitcoin ETFs have absorbed almost 3,000 Bitcoin daily, which is more than 6 times the post-halving daily supply of 450. And there's no way. This is a very big imbalance. And I totally agree with Jared there. It's not going to last. This is going to be one of those things that if the pressure is still on in terms of demand, who knows where discovery is going to go here for sure. Bernstein is now more convinced that Bitcoin will hit 150K. Remember, Bernstein was the former ARK analyst for crypto, and his position now 150K after massive rally. So big potential here. Could we see a retracement? Don't put that out of the cards. Anytime you start to see these all-time highs explored, there's always that potential. So it's not that you won't get a downside. The idea is it a lower high? And if that starts to flow into more continued demand, then you've got it setting in a pretty good position. Now, everybody knows we have an election year. The big deal, we saw the State of the Union the other night with Mr. Biden, President Biden. And now you got Trump talking a little bit more towards cryptocurrency. Here's a clip right here on Mr. Trump. Listen in.
Well, it's taken its own life. I do little things sometimes for fun and, make money with it, but I have fun with it too.
You mean
NFTs,
you bought Bitcoin?
No, but I did a thing that people smile at, but it was wild. We did 1,000 sneakers, so limited edition sneaker run. And you could go through, our crazy new currencies, because that's what I call them. They're crazy, whether it's Bitcoin or others. Ultimately, the last pair of sneakers sold for approximately, I hear, $450,000. People were going crazy for these sneakers. You probably were too. Everybody was. I have every friend I have has called me for a pair of sneakers, and I noticed that so many of them were paid for with this with the new currency. And it is that it's a new cryptocurrency, and I couldn't believe the amount. And I'm saying, this thing has really, and other things I do. There has been a lot of use of that, and I'm not sure that I'd want to take it away at this point.
All right, I think, granted, the things that President Trump said, former President Trump said in that interview doesn't make him look like he's a complete crypto native for sure. I would think he's got the right kind of people advising him. Obviously, he's got a little bit of a degen group advising him with the fact that they had the sneakers. Here's the page right here, Trump sneakers. These things sold out, good for them. But the point is that when you look at his wallet, and now granted, this is a very small amount. I know for some probably not, but his small amount. You're looking at around 5 million in the Trump coin. Then you've got about another 1.5 million over here in wrapped ETH. I'm going to zoom in on that for you guys. And then about another 1.3, 1.4 in Ethereum. So, I mean, this guy's holding more ETH than anything. So if that's what he means by crazy currency, is that his idea? The point I really like was that he looks at it as, hey, if people want to do that, just like if they want to invest in stocks, low cap, mid cap stocks, or they want to go into businesses and put at risk, let them run their own financial future. That is the one thing that we're not getting from the current administration. So hopefully this will start to move forward for sure. And just so everybody knows, I mean, remember when those Trump NFTs were launched, he promised these galas, these VIPs. So they actually held them. There's one right there at Mar-a-Lago. And then right here is another tweet on that. There was people really, really at these events of him showcasing. Wow. So I think that's good. That's why I think he is one of those man of the people kind of guys that is able to kind of connect with just pretty much everyday Americans, which is very interesting as we go forward. All right, another thing that is happening right now is the Trump cards. And don't forget, this is all within the ETH ecosystem. So lots happening there, I think, in the sense that we're probably going to see more activity with Trump and NFT, especially as we start to get toward the election. I just wonder if he's going to do something really cool around the election itself. Other tweets happening out there. This is going into the ETH ecosystem. Pro-blockchain GOP candidate would be announcing his campaign to challenge Senator Warren. We have another one. So this guy right here, Chuck Kane, is coming in, recently declared Republican, who's also registered with the party. He's going to be going against that. So both Kane, this would be interesting with John Deaton, because John Deaton, of course, running directly at Senator Warren, but now you've got a Republican coming at Warren as well, also pro-crypto. So good for that, because if we can unseat Senator Warren, I think we have gone a long way in being able to do some very interesting things with this technology going forward. Another thing Eleanor hit on right here, which I think everybody needs to be aware of, is the SEC and whether or not we would see an ETH spot. This is the issue, is that the possibility of approval is now waning a little bit. And there's a couple of situations I think that will cause this. Some, of course, I always look at the success of what's happened with these ETFs on Bitcoin. And why wouldn't you have BlackRock just pounding at the door saying we want to do the same thing with Ethereum? I think that's the situation. But of course, her situation is that people familiar, meetings in recent weeks have very much been one-sided. with the issuers and the custodians trying to rally SEC staff to process rolling, but staff not really engaged in meaningful ways. Remember, when they did the Bitcoin ETFs, the meetings and the staff engagement was much greater and was reported more, quite a bit more, both by Tara, but also by the Bloomberg guys that were analyzing this. So all that kind of pushing to where we may not see this. Let's go back to the poll. I want to kind of see what the numbers are now. Can we jump back to that? All right, we're at double the numbers, so everybody's still pushing at 57%. Interesting. Very interesting. So what do we know that the SEC, well, we know a lot that the SEC doesn't know. One thing that we do know is Denkan not too far away, now 1 day out, 18 hours, and it looks like this may actually happen. I've always been curious as to whether or not we hit these deadlines. One thing right here, this was just someone kind of pounding out to Vitalik saying, hey, literally, if you could just concentrate on making it a little bit cheaper so we can buy some of these other coins for less than $200 in gas fees, that's what we need. And then Vitalik actually said, hey, big hard fork will help a lot with this in coming 3 days. So maybe for sure we could see an actual hit on timeline here for Denkan. If that does happen, remember this is really affecting layer 2, but back to that, that user's particular situation is just trying to be able to use it on layer 2 applications. The ones that will pay off, I should say, are Base. Of course, Ethereum and Optimism are going to be huge. So we're talking about the blob season, which is the data that's going to get ended up storage on here. Last 30 days, Arbitrum, Optimism, scroll together, post over almost 10 gig of data to ETH layer 1. So that's going to be one big deal right there. And again, this gets back to what is the benefit. It really, if in the layer 2s, we start to see these lower fees, and remember, microtransactions are important to be able to move, whether in gaming ecosystem, retail, all other sorts. And even if you're just doing a big, huge loyalty rollout on a major chain, like a retail chain, like a restaurant or something like a McDonald's or a Starbucks, being able to roll out millions of NFTs and keep that cost low, that's going to be very, very important going forward on Ethereum, which is why I think we're going to see a lot more of that. All right, we've got a few questions coming in and a couple other things I want to hit on. Actually, I think there was one other thing. Oh yeah, right here. This was an issue that's kind of been overlooked a little bit, and that is that there is an old EIP that's also being shipped in the Denkun update that will allow for UNIS Swap V4 to launch. That's a pretty big move. So that in itself should be hugely beneficial. And then, of course, Ethereum ETF approval odds now are plummeting down to 35%. We're trying to get the Bloomberg guys on this week. I've been talking to James, so we might be able to get him. And I'm kind of curious his position now, because he and I have kind of been going back and forth on this for 5 or 6 months on what the requirements are and what is holding back the situation for sure. Let's take a look at the charts real quick and see what's happening. Let's see if we can get some repaint. All right, Bitcoin holding at 72.8, so still on a green candle for a hard day. And then Ethereum maybe gets to that 4,100. What was the high on that today? Almost 4,100 right there. Let's go to a couple of questions. 73K incoming, most likely at the pace in which we're seeing these kind of things, definitely could be the case. Will ETH layer, what is he saying? What's he saying? Will the ETH layer become cheaper as well? No, I don't think so. I don't think it has any effect on L1s. Pelosi was right again, for sure. Let's see. BlackRock gets what they want. Ethereum gets an ETF. I like your attitude there, guys. Matt, you are on it. Go for it. Now, if we could just get that from Ms. Gensler. Shorts can't breathe. Yeah, no kidding, man. How many shorts have you seen wrecked? I've seen so many shorts wrecked in just the last 3 weeks alone. This is getting out of hand right now. I just don't know that there's an opportunity. Where's the opportunity on retracement? I don't know. I'm on the daily. This thing is going back into ancient land. We're above the high that we had back in November already. There's nothing here to really look into. We are no man's land. This is where it begins, my friend. This is where we potentially see some takeoffs. One other one that will drop a little later today is an Avalanche video. Avalanche moving pretty aggressively right now, almost 13% on the day. For many reasons, GDC is happening. A lot happening over there as well. All right, when everyone moves away from it, yes, that's true. That's a good point, Ryan, is that when you do get other alternatives in terms of transactions, it could lower the fees just because of transaction, but it really boils back down to yield. Because remember, when fees are high, yields are high as well, all of that. XRP has a big event coming up in Vegas in May. That's going to be huge. That could be some interesting things happening out there for sure. And XRP is flying right now. Let's take a look at XRP. Real quick, up 21%. Look at that. Woo, almost God candle, but that's definitely moving into another great one. All right, what else do we have here? I have time for an ETH ETF deadline. Anything can change since, yeah, I think you're right. Still a probability. I think everybody's still. One last peek at the poll, though. I want to see this. Did we get over maybe 800 votes? Oh, close to it. Still 58%. You guys are solid on Ethereum. Man, I like that. That's great. William Fisher says, hey, if we get an ETH ETF, will you hodl some Bitcoin and ETH, or will you sell everything when you feel you've topped? Well, I don't know if I'll sell, but I mean, you got to do something. When you get these big gains, guys, you just have to be responsible. It depends on your situation. Of course, I don't give financial advice, but everybody's different. Your situation, I hear people say this all the time. Sometimes you'll see money in those wallets you've never seen before, and you look at it differently. Those are the things, just like when you buy a stock and maybe you've been holding. But if you're looking at something long term, if you were holding Amazon or Chipotle or Microsoft, I mean, where are you now? That's something else. So Render's definitely moving fast. Let's take a look at Render. What do we got on Render? Let's take a look here at Render. Yeah, it's coming. Well, I mean, listen, Render has had a really good weekend. A lot of videos on Render over the weekend. This is still our #1 token for AI. Our #1, we think it. And if you watch the things that Render is doing at the Nvidia Conference this next week, be on the lookout there, because Jules, their CEO, is going to be doing some pretty cool announcements there. Shorting Bitcoin, bad play. SHIB is going to hit all-time soon. Shiba, a lot of meme coins on the move for sure. Let's see, what else do we have? Will ETH stay same price or surge after upgrade? I think ETH is on its way now. It's going to track pretty well. You may see a little bit of a retracement, but I don't think it's going to be much. ETH will not get an ETF in the US. All right, there's one that says no. And then Flow now. Man, Flow pumping. What is going on with Flow? We got to probably do a little bit more deep dives on Flow. That's down in our altcoins. Still continuing to rise. I mean, it's a healthy move. This is one that we've seen coming for a while, but it definitely isn't retracing off that green candle. I mean, here we are, almost a week of green candles there on the daily. So money flow is still coming in pretty decent. Many of you guys asked what we're using for our indicators. Just to give you a quick look at this, this is Lux Algo. So let's say you want to go in and do the price actions. This is going to, of course, give you all the orders within the program. You can go in and just pull that indicator argument off right there. This will give you all those order price action concepts right there. And then, of course, the money flow, a lot of the oscillators. This is what we use in studio for our team to kind of study and analyze. Let's see, what else? WIF. Ooh, did you guys hear that WIF is trying to get on the Sphere in Vegas? If this comes together, that could become the new Doge of this era. So a lot of meme coins happening. Let's see, what else do we got? Man, imagine if some reason MicroStrategy sells some Bitcoin. Woo, that would be a big rug. I don't know at the pace in which they're doing it. Now they have a little bit more fiduciary responsibility to stockholders, because remember, that's how this asset's being held. So it's a little interesting. I mean, yes, sure, you could defend that just because of the all-time high, but many people would probably question that now just because of the freight train that seems to be Bitcoin going to 100K. We'll see how all that goes. Listen, if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, get in right now. Subscribe, click that little bell so you'll get notifications of these live streams. And then if you're not in our Diamond Circle, get in. We've got our new Telegram group there where I go in and talk a little bit. We also drop a lot of our own sentiment data over there. If you're not in the mastermind, you should check that out as well. Or just hit me up on Twitter, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.